if you ask me why logo animation is important, I will tell you it's important from two perspectives. From designer perspective, it can considerably increase the chances of your logo getting approved by the client. While a static logo makes sense, an animated one makes more sense. From a brand perspective, bringing logo to life through animation can connect more with the customer and make the logo more memorable and more engaging to their customers. Hello everyone, my name is Adam. I'm a professional designer animator. I started working as interim with a lot of companies such as an airline company, an ad agency, and Facebook. And now I'm a full-time freelancer and content creator. My most recent projects I'm working on right now is a web animated series called Jimmy, but that's for another story. You're here to learn about the basic principles of logo animation. So in this class, you will learn about the do's and don'ts of logo animation, basically logo animation's best practices. And then you will learn about the basic principles of logo animation. For this class, you will have two projects, one simple reveal and disappear animation, and another one is a more advanced characters animation of a logo type or a wordmark. This course is for absolute beginners in logo animation, but a knowledge or a basic knowledge in Adobe After Effects is really helpful, like you know how to export projects in After Effects. So for this class, you will need Adobe After Effects, of course. You will need two free scripts. The first one is the Wake Basal and the other one is Riffs. Alright, so that's it for the introduction, guys, and see you in the first lesson. Now for this class project, we have two projects as I said earlier. The first one is a simple logo reveal and disappear, and the reason why I chose this one is to get you familiar with the keyframes, with ease-ins, and with the speed graph, and this is very important, especially if you're just starting. And the second project will be a more complex characters animation of a logo type. And the reason why I chose this specific second project is because the techniques you will learn here can be applied to any letters. And also you can apply them to objects, either simple objects or complex objects. So what I want you to do now is go ahead and download the project from the project and resources. You will find here all you need to follow with me through the course. And you will also find the final project in case you don't know what I did or you need some help. I included the final project as well. So what I want you to do now is go ahead and download the Wake Basal from here. And then you go to their official website and you just download it. And then you go to iscripts.com and you download the Riff script as well. You see 29.99 here, don't get scared. Just put 0 and then you put add to cart. So basically you just log into the website as if you were buying something. They will send you an email with the download link and then you download it. Once you have it, you may want to unzip the file. Double click here and you will find this one, the Wake Basal 2.gsx, extract to, and then you copy the file here. So this is the path if you're on Windows, and this is the path folder if you're on Mac. Same thing for the Riff, you install it the same way. And then what you want to do before working with the script, you want to go to Edit, Preferences, Scripting and Expressions. And then make sure you check Allow Script to write files and access network, then click OK and you're good to go. My tip for finishing the project is just to take it easy, okay? Don't stress yourself, just follow through with me. And try to understand why we're making such decisions instead of just following blindly. So make sure you get everything ready. Make sure you open Creative Cloud. Make sure you download the project and see you in the next lecture where we'll be talking about logo restrictions. And this lecture will be talking about the do's and don'ts of logo animation. And basically what I mean by that is we'll be talking about logo animation's best practices, things to keep in mind while making the animation. If it's your first time making logo animation, you may be thinking, how do I come up with the plots? And a nice trick I do every time I need scenes to animate my logo is I think to myself, what's the point of this company? What does it do? So let's take Indeed for example and try to come up with a mini plot for our animation. So Indeed is a free service for job seekers. And what you do there is upload your CV, search for jobs, create job alerts emails, save jobs, apply to a job directly, And in order to do that, you need to have a degree or training or a job experience. Now that I have brainstormed all these ideas, I can go ahead and narrow it down to a mini plot from 1 to 5 events. So we want a short and logic animation, because logo animation should not exceed at maximum, I find, 8 seconds, okay? Some people say 6, some others say 10. I think 8 is good. So for example, I can do an animation with a degree appears, then a CV, then a job, plus logo reveal. Or we can do a CV plus a magnifier looking for a job, plus the job, plus logo reveal. So as you can see, short and does tell a little story about the company. With that being said, in some cases, you are only required to do a minimal animation. So like a simple reveal and disappear. In that case, you don't have to worry about the plots. You only have to worry about the techniques. It all depends on what the client is asking for. Does he want a full explanatory logo animation, or he just want a simple appear and disappear, or a shape morph into logo? So that's about coming up with the plots. Now let's talk about best practices for logo animation. So the first rule is that you want to keep the animation between 1 to 6 to maximum 8 seconds. Why? Because the animation will be used on mobile apps, on websites, so you want the viewer to quickly see the logo reveal and then start exploring the website or buying product. You don't want to hold too much time of the user showing the logo reveal. Second rule, keep the animation inside the frame or the active area. It should not go outside the borders. Again, because it will be used on many devices, phones, website, etc. So it has to stay within the active area. Third rule is that you should learn about who you are animating for. Learn things like who is the audience of this brand, what the mission of this brand, and also check their product. So your animation is aligned with the brand's purpose and mission, to avoid things like doing a logo animation with meat for a vegetarian restaurant. You get the idea, right? Fourth rule, avoid insulting jokes and black humor. Unless you are animating for yourself, no one wants you to make fun of their customers, okay? A company can make fun of itself, but never of its customers. Fifth rule, don't interfere with the original logo design, because most of the time you will be provided with graphic assets. And if you have to interfere, you should at least see with the customer if it's okay. So to recap everything, in this lecture we talked about coming up with the mini plots and best practices for logo animation. So we said for the plots, you brainstorm everything you know about the company, then you narrow it down. And for best practices, 5 of them, try to keep them in mind. So next we'll talk about the basic principles of logo animation. In this lecture, you will learn about the basic logo animation principles, and we're going to see different examples of how these principles are applied to logos. So basically, they're the same as the 12 Disney animation principles, but these ones are more focused to logo animation than characters. So the first animation principle is easy in and easy out. And this is probably one of the most important aspects or principle of animation in the history of animation. And funny story actually is that when I started making animation the first time, I wouldn't apply easings because I didn't know what easings were for. I mean, I saw tutorials and the instructor was saying that easings will make the animation run smoothly, but I couldn't understand what they mean by smoothly. Like, what do you mean smoothly? But apparently I learned, and easy in and easy out means acceleration and deceleration. So you're controlling the speed of the animation. You either want the animation to start fast and end slow, this is easy in, or you want the animation to start slow and end fast, this is easy out, or you want the animation to start slow, then fast, and then slow, and this is easy ease. So definitely something that you should apply to all your keyframes unless you are animating robots, because robots, they move in one speed in a linear position, you know. So for robots, machine, you can go ahead and leave the keyframes linear. Next is the arc animation principle. So basically the arc principle is the visual path of an object. So instead of an object moving in a straight trajectory like a robot, It will move in an arc trajectory. Imagine someone kicking a football. The football will go up and then it will go down, creating that arc path. However, there is a rule to this principle, is that the greater the speed of an object, the straighter the path will be. Imagine shooting a bullet from a gun. It won't curve unless you're in the movie wanted, but the bullet will go in a straight trajectory because it's super fast. The next animation principle is squash and stretch. So think about a rubber ball. If you toss it up in the air, it will stretch on its way up and then it will squash when it hits the bottom, the ground. This animation principle gives the illusion of gravity, and we will be using it a lot in this class. Also, it can be applied to both complex and simple objects, but there is a rule though. If you stretch the object's height, you have to make sure to stretch the width equally, okay? And vice versa. This makes for a greater and more realistic animation. Overlap in action and follow through. And this principle we will also use a lot in this logo animation class. So basically what I mean here is that when an object moves, a part of it will move and another part will follow. We call this overlapping. Then when it comes to a standstill position after being in motion, different parts of the object will stop at different rates. We call this a follow through. So inertia basically means that a force is making you either move or stop. Now, to explain this further, imagine you standing on a bus and the bus is running and you're not holding to anything. If the bus stops, your body will throw itself by the force of inertia. In this case, the bus stopping. Okay? Hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, you can just leave me a question. Next is anticipation. So anticipation is the preparatory action opposed to the main action. For example, you bend the knee before jumping. So what we're doing here by using anticipation is that we prepare the viewer for what's about to happen. When applied, it has the effect of making the object action more realistic. And finally, staging. So staging principle means that the main actions take place by turn with a small pauses to emphasize a specific moment. The scenes must be in order and must have the same purpose, guiding the viewers to the final logo reveal. So to recap everything, in this lecture we covered the basics of logo animation, which are the easy ease, the arc principle, squash and stretch, overlap in action and follow through, anticipation, and finally staging. Next, we'll open After Effects and set up our workspace. And this lecture will open After Effects and we will be covering the workspace, the composition settings, couple of settings that you need to set up. And we'll be also importing Adobe Illustrator files into After Effects. So after you open After Effects, you want to go ahead and click on New Projects and then New Composition. Okay, and now let's go ahead and give a name to this composition. Logo reveal. Article like this. And these are the settings for the new composition. Okay, so width, we have 800 pixels. Heights, we have 600 pixels. Frame rates, 29.99 or 30 frames a second. Resolution full. And for the background, white color. Duration, 8 seconds. Cool. The next thing we need to do is I'm going to double click here. And then you want to go ahead and find the file that I told you to download from the project and resources and open this one right here. Okay, this Adobe Illustrator file, Atika logo. It's under course files, logo reveal Atika. Import. Import kind composition. And for footage dimensions, layer size. We don't want document size. Click OK. Double click on the Atika logo composition. Select those. Control Command X. Double click on logo reveal Atika composition. Make sure you click here and then Control Command V. Okay, click on this area right here before you Control Command V. Now the next thing we need to do here is to talk about the workspace. Okay, so if you go to Window, Workspace, you can see which one I'm working with. It's Animation. And down here we have all the scripts that we're going to be needing. Okay, so in case I need a script, I'm just going to go ahead, look for it here. And then when I'm done, I'll just close it. So one thing about scripts, I don't like using script too much. I don't like relying on script too much, but some of them are super necessary just to make the workflow much faster, okay? Those that will avoid you doing the repetitive stuff, those I find helpful. And also in this course, I try to keep everything without using scripts, because if you're just starting with logo animation, you don't want to invest in expensive scripts. You want to know first if it's your thing or not. The next thing I want you to do is go to Edit, Preferences, General, and then I want you to make sure to check this option, Center, Anchor Points, and U-shape layers. This is super helpful. It will avoid you a lot of trouble trying to center the anchor points manually, okay, especially with new layers that you're going to be creating. And okay, one more thing to do here is click on those Adobe Illustrator files or Adobe Illustrator layers, because now they are inside After Effects, so they are layers. Right click, create, and then create shapes from vector layers. Okay, so the reason why we are creating shapes from these vector layers is that with shape layers, you have more parameters, more animation options. I'm gonna go ahead now and delete those Adobe Illustrator layers and just change the color of the icon and the type so we can tell them apart. So the icon is on the top and the type is in the bottom. Always go ahead and save. You never know when Adobe After Effects will crash. So logo reveal Atika. Here we go, save. Okay guys, so that's it for this lecture. So recap highlights. In this lecture, we imported files to After Effects. We adjusted the general settings. We converted Illustrator layers to shape layers for more animation options and freedom. We changed the layers colors to not get confused, and we saved our project. Up next, we will make our first logo animation. Now it is time to make our first logo animation after all this talk, and we will start with the simple reveal and disappear logo animation of this logo Atika right here. So this is basically like any other symbol logos out there. So the technique you learn here, you can apply it to any symbol logo. So just to let you know guys, if what I'm about to do seems very difficult for you, that's okay. Especially if it's your first time doing logo animation. Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel frustrated. Okay, just keep pushing through. And if you feel like you cannot follow anymore, it's getting too complicated, you can just take a break, take a deep breath, and then come back and then finish it through, okay? Because I've been through the same. The first logo animation I followed, I was like, there is no way I could do this. But with patience and the power of will, I was able to finish the tutorial and do the logo animation, okay? So let's get started. Now, the first thing I like to do is select both layers and then just move them a little bit to the right. Okay, like 10 frames to the right. Let's zoom into the timeline by holding Alt or Options and scrolling with the middle mouse button. Okay, now we can see the frames. Okay, so if you zoom out, you have seconds. If you zoom in, you see frames. And now let's start and animate the icon first, okay? So I'm just gonna click on this solo option, okay, just to single out the icon like this. And I'm gonna click S to bring up the scale parameters, okay? So we will make the reveal with the scale. I'm gonna click on the stopwatch to add the keyframe. And then I'm gonna move the keyframe 10 frames, okay? So 10 plus 10 is 20. Now, why am I choosing 10 frame? Is because we are working in a composition with 30 frames a second, and 10 frame is not too fast or too slow, okay? It's the standard. And now I'm gonna scale it down to 25%, okay? So you're probably asking yourself about the two decisions I'm making. First, why did I move the layers 10 frames to the right? And then why am I scaling to 25 and not to 0 for the scale reveal? Now, I did move those to the right just so I can have enough white space, you know, to play the animation. I like it to start with white space. Okay, with nothing on the screen. And also very helpful when you work in a logo animation to have some space before the actual animation in case you need to adjust the layers or whatever. And now, why did I scale it down to 25 and not 0%? And the reason is simply because it's best practice. When making a reveal with the scale parameters, it's better to show a little bit of the shape, because if it's too small, it's gonna look like a dot, like this. And imagine if you scale in too many objects and they need to appear in the same time, simultaneously, it's gonna look like you have dirt on the screen, okay? So better have the scale between 20 to 30% to 100. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it 25. And next, I will go ahead and select those keyframes, press F9 for the ease in. Okay, so what we did here is easy ease. Okay, so stars slow, then fast, then slow again. Select those again. And now let's head to the graph editor. Make sure you have these options, show selected properties here, edit speed graph, and snap in on, and zoom automatically on as well. Now, here is a pro tip to keep in mind, you guys, while making reveal, disappear, or morphing animation, is that you want those to appear or to happen at the peak of speed right here, okay? You don't want to have any slowdowns at the beginning of this type of animation. So reveal, disappear, and morphing. Okay, you want it to happen fast, discreet, and just like that, you know, like Floyd Mayweather's jab. So what I'm gonna do now is just select these points or handle, and then I'm gonna drag this to the left like this, okay? So as you can see right here, it's still gonna take some slowdown at the beginning and then speed up and then slows down by the end. It looks already better. Okay, but to make it even better, I'm gonna click here, select this, click here, and then just drag this to the left as well. Okay, now animation will happen at the peak of speed right here. Okay, you guys. Now if we click play, you can see that it's much better. Click here to go back to the timeline. Now what we want to do is animate the type, okay, the typography. So let's click here again to get out from the solo. And now we have the type here that we need to animate. So you can either animate the entire thing in one word, or you can animate the characters individually. And to make it more interesting, I think it's better to animate the character individually. So what I'm gonna do now is just close this by clicking here and then open the options for the type outlines. Close transform for now. And we can open contents. Now you see right here we have groups from 1 to 6. So group 1 is the last character and group 6 is the first character. Now what we need to do is open all these groups up like this by clicking on this right arrow. And then look for transform group. Also open all of them. This process is a bit tedious. However, there are some scripts that allows you to do that easily, but they're quite expensive. So I didn't want to include them in this course because not everyone is willing to pay $70 or $80 for those scripts if they're just starting. And you can see that the anchor point is located in the middle, okay? To check that out, if I move the position, you can see that it's moving from the middle. Or if I rotate, you can see it's rotating from the middle. Now select position for group 6, select position for group 5, select position for group 4, 3, 2, 1. You zoom out like this. Now that you have everything selected, click on the stopwatch. There we go. Now what I'm gonna do is select this layer and click on U. Okay, so I just have the keyframes that we just added. Again, I'm gonna select them all, move them to the right 10 frames, and then click here to add a new keyframes for the position. And then after you add new keyframes, you drag the position to the left. So you see that I added the keyframes first and then I adjusted the position to the left. If I did adjust the position first, it wouldn't have affected all the groups, but just the single group. It's a bit different to work with groups than working with layers. All right, cool. So let's see what we have now. Let's zoom out. Not bad. Not bad. So what I'm going to do now, select all the keyframes. Again, we need to go to the graph editor. You see that it looks linear. It's like a robot's moving. So let's select them. Press F9. Now let's go back. Okay, we have the curves. Now you see here, it does look like there is only one curve or one line, but actually it has all of the groups are one on top of the other. Okay, so select them all. And again, let's just make the ease ends. Okay, for this one, we're just going to be using a simple easy ease in. Starts fast, ends up slow. Okay, so let's just adjust this handle. Move it to the left. Click on play. Okay, fine. But I feel like I need to make the position parameter or the position animation a bit more slower. So I can go ahead and move it 10 frames more and make it 20 frames. Like this. And here we have it. Now, what we need to do is add a mask. Okay, so to add the mask, select the type layer, all of it. Control Command R to bring the guides. Click here, and then I'm going to move this guide to the right like this. Stop it here. Just on the top of the icon. And then select the rectangle tool. Click on this thing. Tool creates mask and creates the mask. Now I started the mask from here to here to make it look like this type is coming from the icon. All right, so now let's click on play. There we go. Cool. Now that we have more keyframes, what we need to do is make the offsets. Okay. So for the offsets, I want the A to appear first, so the last character to appear first, and then I want everything to follow. Now we can either do it manually by selecting the keyframes and then just moving them a little bit to the right. Okay, but it's gonna take a lot of time. So thank God there is a free script that we can use and that I told you to download earlier. The rifts. Select all the keyframes, and then right here, make sure you have the same settings as I do. Okay, so for this one, shift, you don't have to worry about it. Just right here under arrange, I have 1, then stagger, and then descendants. Okay, not ascendants. And then click on display. Now you can see descendants. It's gonna start from here all the way up. It looks good. Okay, it looks good, looks perfect. So now let's go ahead and play the reveal. Boom, here we go. Just gonna wait a little bit, and at 3 seconds, I want to make it disappear. So just let's close the rifts because we're not going to be needing it. You can put it here if you want under the effects panel, but you don't have to. Okay, cool. So now for the disappear, it's going to be much easier because we will only animate the type layer entirely. We will not be animating the groups. So click on P for position, add a stopwatch, same thing for scale. There we go. Then I'm going to move 10 frames and make the scale disappear. Okay, so 0 this time because we want it gone for good. And for the type, we're going to move 20 frames as we did earlier for the reveal. And adjust the position like this. This is why we have the guide in here, so we can see where to adjust the mask. Okay, so something like this in here. Next, we need to adjust the mask as well. So let's go back to this position. Open the type layer, look for mask, open this thing, mask 1, and then add stopwatch for mask path. Then move the playhead toward the position stop or stops. V to select distance selection tool, and then hold shift and drag to the right the mask like this and align it with the guide that we had created earlier. There we go. Okay, so now if we just play it, let's see what happens. Cool. One last thing to do is we need to edit the ease-ins for smooth disappearance. So I'm going to click on U to have all the keyframes. Select those, F9 for the ease-in. Let's go to the speed graph. And this time we want to do the opposite. So we're going to click here and make ease out. Okay, first we did ease in, now ease out. Start slow and disappear fast. Like this. Okay, for both, for the mask and for the type. Now this pinkish line is type and this orangey line is the mask. It's flat, but you can still adjust it. Same thing for scaling. We only have easy ease. We need to make ease out. Okay, so drag this thing here, start slow. The down curve means slow, the up curve means fast. And then drag this one as well, because we want the disappearance to happen at the peak of speed right here. We don't want to leave any slowing down for the disappearance. Okay, let's play this and see. Okay, cool, okay. All right, so now only one problem that we have is that you can see that the disappearance, when it happens, the icon disappears before the type, which is not good. The type needs to disappear before the icon, okay? So one thing I do is that when I'm making logo animation, I go ahead and adjust the keyframes and the parameters for the keyframes first, and then I check the animation. And if there is anything off, I'll go ahead and adjust the keyframes. So what I can do here, for example, is select the scale parameters or the scale keyframes for the icon, and then just drag it to the right. Cool. Now let's see what happens. It's better, okay? And here, so recap highlights. In this lecture, we covered adding keyframes, adding ease-ins, adjusting the speed graph, working with the scripts, and working with masks. Up next, we will make a more advanced logo type animation. So now in this lecture, we will start with the more advanced logo type animation where we'll be animating characters, jumping, rotating, stretching, and everything. So this one is a bit advanced, and I want you to know that there are a lot of techniques to achieve this type of animation, but I went ahead and only chose the easiest way possible to achieve this animation to keep this class beginners friendly, okay? So let's start first with animating the position while respecting the arc animation principle. I want you now to go ahead and open this Adobe After Effects file where you will find this logo ready to be animated, okay? So first thing first, all we will do is just change the colors of these layers, okay? So we won't get confused. Now click here, hold shift and select the first one, and I'm just gonna drag them a little bit to the right, so like this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here is set the active area. If I go ahead and right click on my composition settings, you can see what I'm working with here. Okay, the width, height, 1920 by 1080p. So what we need again to do here is now set the active area, and the way to do this is we're gonna go ahead and select the rectangle tool, and then I'm gonna draw a rectangle like this on the top of the entire canvas. just like this. Then I'm going to open the rectangle settings. Okay, rectangle path. Okay, here we go, size. So you can see size is the same as the one in the canvas. And now to set the active area, just go ahead and dial down the size to about 400 pixels. So I don't know why I have rectangle 2. I'm going to delete it. Maybe I clicked twice on rectangle, who knows? And now we need to change this layer to a guide layer. So right click and then look for guide layer. Okay, here we go. Now it's a guide layer. I can put it down here and lock it. And then layer, new, solid. I'm going to choose white color as the background, put it down and lock it. And then I'm going to shy those away, which means hide them. Click here to activate the shy option. And here we have it. Now we're going to start with animate into position. Then we will move to path. Okay. So first let's animate the T. Click on P for position. And then we're going to move the playhead to about 25 frames a second. Okay. Because we're going to be working with more than 2 keyframes, 3 keyframes. This is why I choose 25 instead of 20 frames. And I will set the final position first, so you guys can avoid looking for the final position after you make the animation. Okay. So I'm going to set it at 25 because we want the T to fly and then come back to its initial position or first position. So set the final position first, always, you guys. And then I'm going to move the playhead back around here, 20 frames or 19, and select V for the direct selection tool, and then click, drag up, hold shift to drag in a straight trajectory. Let's zoom in to see what happens here. Okay. Again, we should not cross the border. And then move this even back to the first frame, which is 10 frames. And then I'm going to drag it down. Release the mouse and then release shifts. Now, one more thing I need to do here is, because my computer is making a lot of noise, is I'm going to go and dial down the resolution to about third. Select all of those, F9. And now if I click on play, not bad. Select everything, speed graph, and then let's go ahead and adjust the curves. So the jump is impulsive, so it's gonna start fast at the beginning. Okay, because when you jump in, you don't take slow down. Okay, you just crouch and then jump, and you jump at full speed. Okay, there is no slowing down at the beginning of a jump. There we go. And when it's dropping down, it will slow down and then drop down fast. Okay. So when it's up like this, that means speed. And when you have a curve down like this, that means slow down. So if I click on play, this is much better. Okay. One more thing is that this point in the middle, this adjusts the freezing. Okay, when the T is up here in the skies. So you can adjust it by either bring it up or down. If you bring it up, it will freeze less time. And if you bring it down, it will freeze more time at the top. And you can see if I want to bring it up, I have 2 keyframes in here. So I need to turn them into 1. Okay, because we have 1 keyframe for the in and 1 for the out. This is ease in and this is ease out. So select both, double click, and then check continuous lock. Okay, so outgoing to incoming. Okay, now if I move it, we only have 1. And you just want to move it just a little bit. Okay, just a notch. Stay under 5,000. Now let's click play again. Let's change this a little bit to the left. Okay, this is much better. Maybe I will move this up a little bit more. The next one, it's going to be P. Okay, so P again, same thing. Click on position, drag it here, add the keyframe for the final position, go back, then put it up here. and then go back and then put it down here. Okay, so you can see I have snapping on. This is why you see it snapping and you see those lines that indicate snapping. And then move the playhead here. And before it reaches the final position, I want to drag this thing here. A little bit here. I'm going to unselect snapping for now. There we go. Like this. Adjust the trajectory. And now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to select all these keyframes, right click, keyframe interpolation, and then right here where you see spatial interpolation, I'm going to change it to linear, just so I can get straight lines like this, and I can adjust this thing properly. So if you click on this and it's selecting everything, just unselect all these keyframes and just select the one that you want to move and then move it. Okay, like this. This is better. And now I can select the pen tool, hold Alt and click right here, and then adjust the curves. Hold Alt. Okay, here we go. Now we can see in this one, we're applying the arc animation principle because it's going to be flying in an arc trajectory. V, select this. Here we go. So of course, nothing is final. We can always come back and adjust. Now we're going to do the same thing. Select all of the keyframes, press F9, go to the curves. Okay, so it's going to start fast like this. Then it's going to curve here and then slows down. So when it reaches this position, I want it to slow down a bit. And then same thing here. I want it to slow down a bit. There we go, just like this. Select those, double click, turn them into one keyframe or one anchor point. Now let's play the animation. Not bad. I just want to adjust the freezing a little bit here. So select this one. Move it up, and same thing for the final one. I don't want it to freeze too much. Bring it up like this, like this. Take those too much. Let's bring it down a bit. Here we go. So if you bring it up and this thing changes, that means you brought it up too much. Okay, make sure this thing doesn't change. The first curve stays the same. Bring it down. Okay, this is much better. Maybe I'll just increase this a little bit here so we can get a nice movement from this point to this point. All right, this is better. Now what I'm going to do is complement the jump with the rotation, okay? So click R on the keyboard for rotation. So we want it to start like this, 90 degrees. Set a keyframe, okay? Then I'm going to select this layer, click U to show the other keyframes as well. Then I'm going to move it when it's freezing to the top. And then I will rotate again like this. So you can see I'm just rotating to the right. Okay, around here. And then when it reaches the down position, it's going to do one final rotation to go back to its initial position, so 0. There we go. And now F9 for the ease ends. And let's just adjust those little bits, just like this. There we go. Let's click on play. Not bad. This one in the middle. Double click. Turn it to one keyframe or one anchor points, and then just move it up a little bit. Okay, this is much better. Let's freeze in up there. Let's move to the R. Okay, the green one. And same thing. P for position. Add the final position. Move backward and then select this one, put it up like this. Then move here and then we're gonna put it all the way down this one. It's gonna jump. It's gonna jump from here all the way from the bottom to the top. Select this and let's just adjust the trajectory. Select all of them. Same thing, F9. The jump again is impulsive. And again, the slow down is ease out. Okay, it's gonna slow down a bit up here and then boom, drops like this. Select the middle one, the middle keyframe, double click, continuous lock, and then just bring it up just a little bit. There we go. Click on play. Amazing. So recap, highlight. In this lecture, we set the active area, we set the position keyframe, we adjusted complex path trajectories, and we adjusted the speed graph. Up next, we will animate using the trim path and the offset path. In this lecture, we will try something different. We will be animating shapes using trim path and offset path, not letters. And after that, we will morph the shapes with the letters. So make sure you're not selecting anything. Go to shape, ellipse tool, and then I'm going to draw a circle right here. Hold shifts. Release the mouse and then shifts. Select the direct selection tool. And then we're going to adjust this line right here in the middle. Or maybe just with the O like this. And then just drag this to the right. Now what we want to do, you see right here we have contents and here we have add. I'm going to go ahead and add trim path and add offset paths. And now for the trim path, I'm going to go ahead right here where it says end and dial it down. And then for the offset path, I will increase the amount. And then line join, change it to round join like this. Offsets, let's adjust it. Okay, because we want the animation to go like this clockwise. Okay. So I'm going to do this. And then just move the position of the new shape that we created by clicking on the right arrow on my keyboard. You can hold shift and click on right arrow to move faster. I will adjust more amount of the offset path. And maybe just a little bit of the offsets and the trim path until you have something like this. Okay. Now let's start with the animation. I'm just going to close the offset path because we don't need it right now. Click on the new shape that we selected. I want to change the color to red and then dial down the end path like this until it's the same shape as the O. Okay, so 1. There we go. And then adjust the offset a little bit. There we go. Okay, because it's going to be moving like this. So I'm offsetting the shape a little bit. Add a keyframe for end and add a keyframe for start. Then we're going to move. And then Let's go with the end, increase it like this. Make sure it doesn't touch a tail. And then same thing for star, we will increase it as well until we have the shape of the O. Okay, let's put here 84. Here we go. And then I'm gonna set a keyframe for offsets and then move this a little bit. And then offset this back to O like this. And now if I click on play, you can see nothing happens, right? But just move this 10 frames. There we go, to 20. If I go ahead and offset those keyframes, you can see now animation. Okay, guys? Okay, so what I did is offset star and end, and I have offset the first keyframe at the beginning of the animation and another one at the end of the animation. Now we can just select everything and then F9. Okay, so for this one, if you just use F9, easy ease, it's totally fine. It looks fine, but you can of course make it better a little bit by selecting those keyframes. Okay, just the star in the end. Go again to the speed editor and then just increase a little bit the speed in the middle. There we go. So I know it's a lot of things, a lot of information in the same time if it's your first time doing this type of animation, but just take it easy, guys. Take it easy. You can ask me questions and everything that you want. And I know that a lot of keyframes can be confusing. This is why I have included the final projects and the project resources for you to download, and you can check what I've done. So now what we need to do is we're gonna do the same thing for the O, but we want the animation to not be clockwise, but to be reversed clockwise. So I'm gonna duplicate this layer, close the animation here, click on U to only show the keyframes of this layer, and then let's just name them so you won't get confused. I'm gonna rename this one circle 1 and this one circle 2. And now if I click on U, there we go. Did we save the project? We have to save the project, you guys. So now what we need to do is pretty much easy. Okay, we're just gonna switch the values. So it starts here with 1 and ends with 85. We're gonna switch that, and we're gonna do the same for the one on the top, and then we can adjust the offsets manually. So here 85, and here 1. Now for the top one, the start, it starts with 0 and it ends with 84. Okay, so 0 here and 84 here. Okay, select all these keyframes like this, and then just move using the arrow on your keyboard. Hold shift to move faster. Okay, just to align it with the second O for the troops. And now let's adjust the offsets. It starts maybe here and it ends here. I'm gonna select the entire layer and move it to the right. Okay, so now let's see the first animation. Whoop. And then this one. Whoop. Okay, so you can see the offsets for this one, it starts at the top, and the offset for this one, it starts from the bottom. And now let's just click on U to hide the keyframes. And finally for the S, we're gonna try something funnier. So what we'll do is I'm gonna select the pen tool, make sure you don't have anything selected, any layer selected. And then I'm gonna click here to here and drag, hold and drag hold Shifts, then hold Alt and hide this line or this curve. And then click here on S, make sure you click in the middle, then drag like this. Hold Shifts, and here we go. And we can do this. And we can click on this line to adjust the curves like this. So as you can see, working with the pen tool and Adobe After Effects is pretty much the same as working with the pen tool and Adobe Illustrator. I guess experience in graphic design can help a lot in animation if you're switching from designer to animator or to motion design. Select the shape layer, rename it S Animation, and select another color for this one too. Lavender is the color we selected there. Cool, now we're gonna do the same thing as we did with the O. So open this thing, add trim path, and add offsets path. So let's adjust the offsets. Meter round join, and then increase amounts like this until you cover the S. Okay, what we can do is select the pen tool and then just adjust this point a little bit like this. Cool. There we go. So I clicked on direct selection tool and then I selected the anchor point and adjusted it. And now let's adjust the trim path. Okay, so we want it, I think this P is bothering us, so I'm gonna move the S animation to the right a little bit. Again, dial down the end around 0. Add keyframes for both end and star. Move the playhead. Move the end like this. And then move the star like this until you have the O. Then move again. And then move the end to the right again. And then move the star to the right until you have the O. That was too much. Okay, 99 here. Okay, again, we just need to offset those. So click here and here. This is better. F9. This is much better, but I feel like it's too fast. So with all the keyframes selected, click on Alt or Option and then just drag to the right. Okay, this is much better. A little bit here. Okay. Click on U, and then we're just gonna go ahead and hide the two O's and the S. Okay, by clicking on the I, because we don't need them right now, they're confusing us. I'm gonna shy those as well. Okay, not P, that was a mistake. Okay, shy O and S. So recap highlights. In this lecture, we added shapes and then we animated strokes using the offset path and the trim path. And finally, we offset the keyframes to create our animation. Up next, we will explore the stretch and animation principle using the path parameters. Now that we're done with animating the position, we're gonna go ahead and explore the stretch animation principle, and we're gonna do that by using the path parameters. It's gonna be tricky, but you can do it. So at this point, what you wanna do is duplicate the T, Control Command D. Change the color of the duplicated one. And then select the bottom one, U, to show the keyframe. Press U on your keyboard, select all the keyframes, Shift and left arrow to drag it to the left like this, because we're gonna use this T as reference. There we go. U on the duplicated T, and then we want to remove the position. Okay, we want to remove these keyframes, but first let's put it back into the final position before removing the keyframes. Okay, cool. So now what I'm gonna do is look for path, content, group, and then path, and then add a position. Okay, so this is the final position. We're gonna add it first. Click Hue again, bring the play back to the beginning, and then bring the T down like this, just by using the arrows on your keyboard, holding shifts. Okay, around here, here we go. So now we have the position here for the path, and we have the position down for the path. Okay, one more thing is that select both those keyframes, hold Alt plus Command plus right click so you can freeze them. That way when we animate in the path, the T won't be moving. Okay, so it won't disturb us. And I'm just gonna bring this one a little bit to the right like this. Cool. So now the first thing is we're gonna move the playhead to the right. Let me just zoom in a little bit to the timeline. Here we go, we are in the timeline. So once the T start moving, I will make sure you have path selected here. Okay, make sure you have path. Select the top like this. Now you can see that these anchor points are selected. And then I will stretch this using again my arrows. You can hold shift, stretch all the way to the top. I'm gonna do the same for the bottom one. Just like this. Okay, so now that we set this keyframe here, the T will stretch from its normal shape to this shape. Okay, so we're not stretching using scales because it's not gonna look good. It's gonna look horrible if you stretch with the scales. And then move this a little bit here. Okay, just when the T freezes up here, I'm gonna go ahead and select the first keyframes that contains the original shape of the T. Control Command C, Control Command V, and then bring this all the way to the top. Hold Shift like this. Okay, so now it will stretch on its way up, and then once it's up, it will regain its original shape. Now select the keyframe that you just added, Control Command C, and then move it a little bit, Control Command V. Why we duplicated this first keyframe? So we can control the freezing up here, okay? Because we moving the T now with the path and not with the position. With the position, you can control the freezing with one keyframe. But with the path, we need to add two keyframes to control the freezing. And then I'm gonna move the playhead again. Let me just adjust this keyframe to the left, like this. There we go. And when the T reaches its final position, like this, I'm gonna go ahead, Control Command C, the last keyframe, and then drag it to the right, and then Control Command V. Okay? And then once I do that, I will select the top of the T, and then just stretch it up like this. Okay, so here's the thing. Once the T is up here with its original position, when it reaches down, the tail will go first and then the top will follow. Okay, now if I select all of those, F9, play, you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, guys, so if this is confusing for you, I have included the final project, so you can open it and check for yourself what I did with the keyframes. Now select all of them, graph editor, and now we can adjust the keyframes in here. Okay, so speed up and then slow down a little bit, and then here we're gonna do the opposite. Once it reaches here, slow down a little bit here, and then speed up a little bit here. Click on play. Okay, the last one, I don't like it much. So I'll do this. Let's see. I think it's a little bit too fast when it comes down. So I will just select all of those, hold Alt and drag them a little bit to the right. And then this one a little bit more. Let's see now. Okay, this is much better, okay? I prefer this animation better. Okay guys, so remember, two things control the animation, okay? The distance between the keyframes and the speed graph. Now that we finished with the T, we can go ahead and hide this one, the one that we use as a reference, hide and shy away. Next, go ahead and select the R and we're gonna do the same thing, okay? So okay, so we have the position animated. So click here, contents, group, path, and then again, we're gonna add a keyframe for the path, okay? The original shape, add the keyframe first. Like this, and then move it to the top. When it reaches the top position, add another path. And then right here, where it starts moving, make sure you have path selected. Select the anchor points and stretch it from the bottom. Okay, guys? Don't stretch it from the top. Select the pen tool. Click here, and then I will just adjust this. Now if we play it, okay, not bad. So right here on the position, I may go ahead and adjust a little bit the R, bring it a little bit to the top. Let me uncheck snapping. Let's see now. Okay, cool. So now F9. All right, I love it. Looks amazing. So you guys, you can see what we did here. We set the path for the original position and another path for the original position when it reaches the top, and we only stretches in the middle when it's jumping. I'm gonna click on U to close this. So right now what we're gonna do is offset everything and make sure not everything is overlapping when it comes to the animation. So we can move to the next step, which is adding more life to the animation. Bringing those logo animation principles into life. So I'm just gonna close this and close this by clicking U on the layers. And then I'm gonna bring all these babies into the same starting points, okay? Making sure everything is well aligned. So we have T first, and then we have R, and then we need circle 1 before the P and circle 2 before the P as well, and then P, and then finally S, which is the one here. Select all of them, hold Shift, click here and here, window, and then look for rifts. And then I'm going to click here to offset. Okay, cool. Now if we play the animation. Okay, so we can still make some manual adjustments. So the rest will give us a hand, but then we can finalize everything manually, okay? So we have the T first, and then the R that jumps right away. Okay, not good. So I want the T to reach bottom first, and then the R can jump, and then and then once the R lands, I will bring the circle 1 after this. select everything, all the keyframes, zoom in, and then just move a little bit, hold Alt and move a little bit to the right. Let's see now. It's still going too fast for me, so I need to adjust a little bit more of that. Okay, this is way, way better. This one maybe just a little bit too. Okay guys, so you can see that I'm just eyeballing the animation, okay? Whatever feels right for me, I'm gonna leave it that way. Let's take a look one last time. Okay, that's it. So recap highlights. In this lecture, we worked with the path parameters. We explored the freeze keyframes. We used the rift script to offset layers. And we adjusted the layers offsets manually to get everything where we wanted. Up next, we'll be adding more animation principles to our logo. And now, in this lecture, we'll be adding more animation principles. The more animation principles you add to your logo, the better and the more realistic your logo will look. So we'll be adding overlap and follow through. So this is probably the most difficult lecture in this class, okay? So a pro workflow tip I do to not get confused in all these keyframes and layers is that I'll go ahead and work on a layer, on a specific layer, and then when I finish everything I want to do with it, I go ahead and shy it away, okay? This way I keep the interface clean and I don't get confused with a lot of layers and keyframes along the way. So let's go ahead now with the T selected, click on U to get the keyframes. So what we want to do now is overlap the hands of the T. So as it's going up, the hand will bend down, and as it's coming down, the hands will fly up, okay? So we will add 2 more path keyframes to the T. Now, as it starts going up like this, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to the screen, click here, and then make sure you have path selected, path 1. Don't select this one in the bottom. It will select all the keyframes and we don't want that. Next, with the direct selection tool selected, go ahead and select this point and this point, okay? These 2 points right here. Control Command T. Okay, you will have this bounding box. There is a point in the middle. You probably see it, you probably don't, but here it is. Okay, you see it, the small one. Click on it and drag it to the left, like this. You can see that now the cursor changed to rotation. We will go ahead and rotate this hand down like this. Once we finish, click on Escape. Click here, hold Shift, click here, Control Command T. Once you're done, again, click on Escape. Now, what we need to do is adjust this a little bit more by adjusting the curves and maybe the points, sort of deforming the T shape. And to do that, we need to select the pen tool, this one right here. Now, if I click on this point, you can see that nothing happens. All I can do is move it up or down or stretch it. If I want to curve it, I need handles. And in order to create handles, since we don't have them here, hold Alt or Option and click on the points. Click here, and then click here. You will see that we're gonna lose the sharp edges to round edges, but we can fix them. So select the outside parts of the handle, not the one on the inside. Hold Alt, click, and then just drag back. Alt, click, and drag back. Same thing here, select first, and then Alt, and drag. Now we can deform this, like this. Click here and adjust these curves like this. Here we go. There we go. I can also do this, stretch them a little bit. Okay, cool. Now let's move this. Then once it starts coming down, okay, so from this point to here, we will do the same thing. Okay, so basically the same procedure. I'm just gonna go ahead and speed it up, but this time, instead of bending the hands down, we will bend them up, okay, because it's coming down. So by the force of it's coming down, the hand will go up. So V for the selection tool, and then select this and this, Control Command T, and basically the same thing. Once you're done, you can click on V. Okay, and here we have it. Select the direct selection tool, select on this empty area to unselect the T. And now, once the T reaches the final keyframe, I want to go ahead and squash it. Okay, so select the T layer again, and then hold Alt or Option, plus right bracket to cut from the right. Zoom into the timeline and then just adjust this a little bit. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is duplicate the T first. Here we go. And then adjust this. And since we want to squash it, we need to duplicate the layers and then apply morphing. Okay, so for this class, we will only talk about one type of morphing, which is frame morphing, which is the one we will be applying now. But on the upcoming class, I'll be introducing you to new kinds of morphings. Anyway, so after you duplicate this, select the duplicated layer, U, delete all the keyframes, and then I'm gonna put it right here, okay? So right above the last keyframe of the first T. Just like this, okay? Now I can add a keyframe for the path, click S, and then a keyframe for scale. But first, let's go ahead and move the anchor points, okay? So this point will determine from where the animation will start, okay? I want the scale to start from the bottom, so I'm gonna move this one to the bottom, okay? So select this, or you can just click Y to select the anchor point mover tool. And then I'm gonna move this one to the bottom like this and add scale. Click U, and then just move those to the right, like 10 frames to the right. I will calculate 10 frames later. And now what I want you to do is unlink scale and then just squash the T like this. Okay, once we do that, we'll go ahead and deform the T again using the path. So select the path, number 1. Select the pen tool, G for the pen tool, create them handles, and then let's just adjust this. Once we do this, the final thing I need to do is apply some damping oscillation. Basically, damping oscillation means when you stop moving, you bounce a little bit. And in order to do that, we need to make sure first that the distance between the keyframes is 10 frames. So 7 plus 10, 17. So I will move this a little bit to the right. Here we go. And now I'm gonna go to Window, Duik Basel. Make sure you save the project, Control Command S. Select the selection tool. So select this one, animation, and then select the 2 keyframes of the scale, and then we can apply this expression, K linear. And as you can see, I didn't do any sort of ease-ins on these keyframes because if you're applying an expression, you can't do it on keyframes that have easy ins or outs or easy ease in general. Now I will select the layer again, so deselect and select to show the effects controls, and then I'm just going to uncheck anticipation. Okay, now if we play this, let me just adjust the length of this layer. So now we're pretty much done with the T layer. So what we can do is select both T's, click on U to hide all the keyframes, and then we can shade them away. All right, so now we can move to the R. So now with the R, we have everything applied to it. We just need to apply some rotation and some dampen oscillation as well to give it more life. So U to show all the keyframes. I'm gonna click on R for now, just add a rotation key. And then this is the original position of the R. I'm gonna put it right here when the R is on the top, like this. And then when it starts at the beginning, I just want to rotate it a little bit to the right. And then when it reaches its final position, I want to rotate it a little bit to the left and then move a little bit and then apply 0 rotation, original position. Now, down here for the position, this is the final position. I'm gonna go ahead and Control Command C and duplicate it here. And then go back here, select this one, and then just bring the position a little bit down by clicking on the arrows on my keyboard, just to give it that bounce, you know, just a little bit, just one touch on the down arrow. Select both these keyframes and we will apply expression to these as well. So select them both, hold Control or Command and remove the ease-ins. And now for the rotation here, I will apply some ease-ins. And then for those two keyframes, the position and the rotation, we will apply some dampen oscillation using the key leaner. Again, I'm going to remove anticipation, we don't need it. Now if you play, you can see that it looks much better, way nicer. So here we go. Just make sure that it's not going over the active area. And then it looks nice. Yeah, it looks good. So next we'll jump to the P first, and then we will work on the O, and S. Because the workflow for the O, and S is a bit different than what we're doing right now. So again, we're done with this one. Shy it away. Now let's find the P. And for the P, we're going to apply some overlapping and follow through to the tail of the P. So here we have P layer selected, click on U. So once the P reaches this final position, I'm going to go ahead and open the path. Content, group, let's save this. And as you can see right here, we have path 1 and path 2. And sometimes this happens when you want to adjust the path of a letter, you have two paths. And you're wondering, what do I adjust, the path 1 or path 2? The answer is simple. You click on path 1 and you can see these anchor points. Okay, so they're affecting the circle inside the P. We don't want to work on this. We want to work on the tail of the P. So we select path 2. Okay, guys? Now just add a point here and then move. Let me just show the other keyframes as well. Here we go. And then add the same points on top of the final position keyframe. There we go. Now let's open the path again. Click here to unselect. Let's go back here. Okay. When it reaches the floor, I'm going to move this a little bit backward. Now with path 2 selected, we will go ahead and do the same thing we did with the T. So I'm going to select this with V, with the selection tool, select the two anchor points in the bottom, Control Command T, move this up and then rotate to the right, escape, G for the pen tool, Alt, and then create them handles, adjust the corners, and then let's just adjust the curves a little bit. Click here, click on path 2 again, and then just adjust this. There we go. Now it will move to the last point. So the overlap will end here. Then we will have a follow through after it stops. So select this anchor point and drag it to the left, and this one too. And then select this anchor point and put it here. Select all of these and F9 for the easy ease. Let's click on play. Okay, maybe we can just move this a little bit to the right more. Let's click on play again. Okay, so if you don't like the speed of animation, you can of course adjust the distance between the keyframes to your liking. Okay, so this is better. Now that we're done with the T, again, U to hide all the keyframes, and then let's shy it away. Now for the recap highlights. In this lecture, we shy layers away to not get confused. We added more animation principles using the path parameters and the transform command. We added the K-linear scripts of the weak bezel for some damping oscillations. And we adjusted the distance between the keyframes to control the speed of our animation. Up next, we'll see how we can perform a basic frame morphing. Okay, so now we'll see how we can smoothly and discreetly morph shapes into letters. Okay, so this is frame morphing, basically the most easiest way of morphing. And on my next class, we'll be talking more advanced morphing, okay? Now the first thing we need to do is find the letters we want to morph, because these are not letters, they're just shapes. Okay, so I will show all the hidden layers and then unhide O and then O and S, and let's hide the rest. Now I will put the first O beneath circle number 1, the second O beneath circle number 2, and the S is under S animation, which is good. Cool, now let's start with the first O, okay? Let's click U on circle number 1, and the animation stops here. And the morphing will start here. So now, I will go ahead and cut this layer here by holding Alt plus right brackets, or Option plus right brackets. And just adjust this a little bit. And this then a little bit. Make sure you unhide the eye as well, because this layer is still not showing, so make sure you have the eye selected. Then trim this here. Now we want to change the color of the stroke to black, and in order to do that we can just change it from here. Okay, so select the stroke and then change to black. Now this will finish here, and then morph to the O, and then for the O we want to apply again some damping oscillations or bouncing, or elastic bouncing in other terms. So first is I want to change the position of the anchor points for the animation, so Y to select the anchor points. Now look at this, it's rotating clockwise, okay? So the O will bounce up and down. So with the O selected, I will move the anchor points up here, like this. V for the selection tool, S for the scale, and then P for position. Click on U, select both, and again move them 10 frames. Somewhere here, so let's zoom into the timeline to see what frame we are. We are on the 8th frame, so 8 plus 10 is 18. So right here, yeah, I got it right. Experience, hahaha. Cool. Now the next thing to do is unselect everything and then unlink the scale, and we will squash this See what happened? Something here happened, okay? Because it's not supposed to move like this. So what happened? Where's the anchor points? I can't find it. Oh, it's here. How this did happen? Well, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Okay, so now we have to do this from the beginning because we did not pay attention. Okay, stay here, please. There we go. Don't move. Okay, don't move. Add position and scale. Move them 10 frames. Okay, it's still up. So now let's scale this down like this. Squash it, squash it. Squash it more. Around 45. And adjust the width as well. Around 126. Now for the position, I will just bring it up a little bit like this. Here we go. Now select all of these and apply K Linear. Remove the anticipation. Now if we click on play, now you can see that it's a bit slow. First, let's check if there is a distance of 10 frames between the keys. Okay, this time I didn't get it right. There we go. And now, if you remember earlier, we've talked about morphing and we said the best thing for morphing is to happen in top speed, in the top speed of the animation. And since we only applied easy ease to these keyframes, the top speed is not at the end of the animation, but it's somewhere in the middle, okay? So a way to work around this is just cut the layer a little bit to the right like this, and then move the animation of the second layer inside the animation of the first layer like this. Okay, so this is pretty much the same thing as morphing in the peak of speed. See, now it looks more uniform. All right, cool. You hide those. Now let's do the same thing for circle number 2 and O number 2. Now, since the second circle is moving down, we will do the opposite of what we did earlier, okay? So it will squash down and then bounce up a little bit. So again, with the O selected, move the anchor points this time down to the bottom. V for the selection tool, then add a keyframe for the scale, another one for the position. Move them 10 frames. Unlink the scale. Squash down. And adjust the position a little bit down, like this. 23 plus 10 is 33, so we have 10 frames here. Select all of these. Key Linear, and remove anticipation from the effects controls panel. Again, do the same thing for morphing. Cut a little bit from the O layer and then move it inside the animation. Let's click on play. Okay, it looks better. Again, let's hide those. Now finally, we still have the S, and we will do the same thing, but there is no scaling involved in this one. We're just going to play with position and rotation. Change this to black. There we go. U. So it stops here. Cut here. And this one, bring it here. Now for the S, same thing. Y, bring this anchor points down. V for the selection tool. And then we will add one keyframe for position and one keyframe for rotation. So R for rotation and P for position. Now U to show all the keyframes. I don't know why the anchor point is animated here, but let's just remove it. Here we go. Move this again 10 frames. So we are on the 26th plus 10 somewhere here. And now for the position, I will just bring it down a little bit. And for rotation, since this thing is jumping like this, you can see it will end here. So you can see it like moving down and then to the left, which means the rotation will be down. The rotation for the S or the position will be down for position, and then rotation to the left again, to create that continuity. Apply some damping oscillations, remove anticipation, and do the same thing as we did earlier. Here we go. Let's click on play. Okay, you guys, and here we have it. Okay. Now we can show all the layers. And then just one more thing that I need to do here. Let's delete the T. This one, we don't need it. Just confusing me. Okay, so this is T number 2 and this is T number 1. For this one too, we need to move it a little bit to the inside so it looks more uniform. Now let's play the entire animation. So recap highlights. In this lecture we did some basic frame morphing and we applied squash and damping oscillations to complement the morph. Up next, we'll add more optional steps to make our logo more interesting, and we also be adding colors. Now finally, this is an optional step and you can use it to make your logo even better. I recommend to use it, but if you're tired, you need a rest, I understand. But take a breath and come back and mediate. And this optional step is amazing, so let's go ahead and see what we can do here. I'm going to duplicate the T right here, T outlines number 3. And then I will cut this here, and then I will bring it down beneath all the T's. Put it here. Let's see the keyframes. Let's see the keyframes for this one and this one. And now, with this T selected, I will go ahead and bring it down. I'll select everything. Okay, let's bring it down a little bit more. Okay, cool. And then I will just select the path and then just squash it even more. Okay, click on U. Let's see the animation. Okay, this looks better, I gotta say. Okay, so these next steps are optional, you guys. You don't have to do them if you don't feel like, but you can do them later. Now, one more thing I want to do is just animate a little bit of the circle number 2 with circle number 1, because it does start as an entire circle. I don't want it to start as an entire circle, but maybe just as a point or line. So I'm going to select circle number 1, open the keyframes, open the offset path, and right here where you say offset path 1, I'm going to add a keyframe for amount. Click on U. Put the amounts here a little bit in the middle, and then at the beginning decrease the amounts just like this. Okay, maybe more. Just like this. Click on play. Okay, maybe here. Okay, cool. Let's do the same thing for the other one. And decrease the amount to 6. There we go. And of course, apply ease-ins. How could you forget after what happened to you, Adam? Now let's go ahead and check the entire thing one more time. Now, as you may have noticed, we didn't talk about colors at all in this lecture. Now, there was a reason for this. There was a reason why I didn't talk about color and we only did black and white logo animation. So here's the thing, you guys. You can always add colors after you finish the animation. Okay, for example, if I want to add color to any layer, I can just click here. I'm going to hit this shortcut to make the timeline area bigger. And then you look for fill. And then you can change the color from here. Okay, you just click and you can enter the hex code given you by the client or by you, whoever you're making the animation for. So let's choose a color, for example. I'm going to go with, I don't know, this red right here, just an example. And then click again on the shortcuts. And now our T is colored, okay? So here's the thing, you guys. When you bring a logo with colors from Illustrator to Adobe After Effects and you want to convert the layers to shape layers, chances are you're always going to face problems in the conversion, okay, when you're converting the layers. And the reason is After Effects is not so good with converting layers with effects or gradients or any sort of styling applied to the logo. So if you want to do that, you have to make sure that the logo coming from After Effects has solid colors, okay? Because after you do the animation in After Effects, you can always add stuff in here. We can add gradients, we can add effects, we can add everything we want after we make the animation. So my advice is, if a client sends you a logo with gradients and effects and all that stuff, you better ask for a black and white logo or a logo with the one color. Now for my logo, I'm going to keep it this way. And the only thing I want to do here is go to layers, layer, and then solid. And then I want the background to be yellow. You see this hex code right here? It's the same as the one used in the MailChimp logo. So I want to keep my logo black and yellow, like the MailChimp logo. All right, now bring the yellow down here on top of whites. And here we have our animation. So for the final recap highlight, in this lecture, we duplicated the letter T for more action in our animation. We animated the offset path for both letter O, O, and S, and we added colors to our logo. If you made it up till here, congratulations. Now you have enough knowledge to make beautiful logo animations. So what I want you to do next is go ahead and post the logo that you created, that you animated, in a project gallery right here. You can post it here and you can also post it on your social media, on your portfolio. So we covered everything from logo restrictions to logo animation principles to actually making logo animations. And we created 2 projects, not just one. So if there is one thing you should take from this class, is animation is all about placing keyframes. So keyframe, keyframe, keyframe is what makes the animation. Everything else comes in a second place. So you place the keyframe first and then you adjust them. You adjust the speed graph, you adjust the distance between the keyframes. But that is the most important thing to focus on. And if you like this class, make sure to go ahead and follow me, leave a review so other people can find it. And of course, you follow me so you can get notification when I post a new class. So with that being said, see you really soon.